Welcome to a platform where we debate on the top stories of the NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, and other leagues with the best in the world of sports. You'll also get interviews with many athletes and media talents at several basketball events, including the WNBA and college basketball. My name is Rafiq Ulwazon, and this is Nothing But That Sports Talk. Welcome to another episode of Nothing But That Sports Talk. New York sports is on fire right now in recent weeks. And here to break it down with me is a certain man from Fordham University. Congratulations on graduating, by the way, and landing that CBS opportunity for the archive logs. Kris, welcome to the show again.
What's going on, Rafiq? Thanks so much for having me on. I always appreciate you, and I always love talking sports with you. So honored, very glad as well to be on the show. And yes, thank you. Graduated from Fordham, very weird. Now joining the alumni community. But we keep moving. We keep on rolling.
Well, it's good. Well, it's going to be good, weird as you get used to it. Because come on now, after being at WNBA sports and Fordham University alumni circuit, it's a big deal. But I don't need to tell you that. I'll let the guys who would cover sports coming out of Fordham for the past 30 or 40 years, including someone that's doing tonight's game with the Liberty and the Aces that came out of. I'll let him tell you that when you guys bump heads.
Absolutely. Love it. And you got to love the Fordham community, like you said, very strong alumni circle. And I'm honored to be a part of it. I know I've got a long way to go before I'm I'm probably never going to consider myself on the level of some of these WFUV greats, but that's the goal one day, right? Is to be up there with some of our patron saints, as we jokingly call them, the Breens and Kays and Rucos of the world.
We've all been there. Don't worry, your time will come. You got an opportunity to be a CBS Sports archives logger, as seen on your LinkedIn account. But yeah, you got that opportunity to work with CBS Sports. Anytime you start your career off at CBS Sports, you're going places, even the smaller roles.
Yeah, definitely behind the scenes, shout out to Andrew Posadas, also WFUV's finest, for the training help he did. He was one of the people who trained the trainees for that role. So it was cool getting to, talk to Andrew again, this time outside of Fordham, but still in the sports media landscape, which was fun. It was cool seeing my guy ABP.
Exactly. And yeah, can't wait to see how everything goes from this point going forward. And obviously, for somebody that works for Knicks Film School, you're aware of what happened went down last weekend as New York City is morphing to New Cat City. Courtesy of Karl Anthony-Towns getting traded to the Knicks. Of course, you have to go Julius, Randle, and Donte DiVincenzo, but it'll be worth it when we win a championship. But I want to get your thoughts on the trade with Karl Anthony-Towns this past weekend.
Yeah, definitely a big move. Definitely a blockbuster deal, for the New York Knicks. I think you look at it from this perspective. Very few top players in the NBA change hands nowadays through anything that's not a trade. So whether it's a sign and trade or a trade, that's how most of the superstars of the world are getting from team to team. To have Jalen Brunson sign with the Knicks in free agency was just incredible for the New York franchise because it allowed them to get a kind of talent that could change the trajectory of their team building ethos in the building, and they were able to do it with just salary cap space. So they didn't need to give up young players or draft picks to get Brunson on the roster. Once they did have Brunson on the roster, the job was to build the best team they could. And when they realized that Brunson was a top 10 player on the planet, that he's someone who can be a number one option, things changed, right? They no longer needed to make a trade for a Donovan Mitchell or Devin Booker type of player who has the ball in their hands a lot. What they needed were complementary pieces to Jalen Brunson. Julius Randle was the number two offensive option, but the Knicks went out. They got OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, the two premier 3-and-D wings in the NBA, to surround and insulate those shot creators with. And then they had an opportunity. Of course, losing DiVincenzo is tough, but they had an opportunity to change Randle from a star All NBA power forward to a star All NBA center, which was especially important for them uh, with the injury news with Mitchell Robinson and him not being ready to play the full season, but also just the fact that Brunson, despite his size, operates inside a lot and operates in the paint a lot, and he loves to play off 2 feet. So, a floor spacing big man is easily on paper, an amazing fit for that kind of play style. And who's a better floor spacing big man than Karl Anthony-Towns? So they went out and they got the two premier. They didn't just get Mikal Bridges or OG Anunoby. They got both of those defensive chess pieces, really. And then they went out and got Cat as well. Now, of course, you're looking at the bench. It's less deep than it was. The Knicks' identity was their depth. Now all of a sudden it's the starting five. But they've got players, right? And they might not be done making moves. We'll see what they do. We'll see how they fill out the rest of the roster, right? We know right now Deuce McBride and Mitchell Robinson. Then you've got Precious Achiuwa, Tyler Kolek, some players that could come off the bench for New York. We'll see if they make more moves or if this is their roster that they're going to roll with for a few months here.
Exactly. That's what you need to do. And you're talking about one of the biggest names in the NBA in Karl Anthony-Towns, a guy that the Knicks were about 3 picks shy of getting in the draft in 2015. If they would have won the lottery that year, they would have probably already had Karl Anthony-Towns, not Kristaps Porzingis, or to trade him after he got injured. But right now, you got a guy that can shoot the three. He can take it to the low post. He can drive to the rim. And he has that little big man that you could throw the ball down low to. Him and Rudy Gobert's not going to work together. I know they were in the conference finals last year, but him and Rudy Gobert was not going to work in terms of winning a championship. Yes, you got past the Denver Nuggets, but if anytime you couldn't get past the Dallas Mavericks team that eventually reached the finals, you need to change the scenery at some point. I mean, it came at the most unexpected way. And yeah, you're not going to have Anthony Edwards on your side, but you got Jalen Brunson and the Villanova boys. And yeah, the Knicks are not going to get the Villanova boys reunion that we expected when they got Mikal Bridges for the trade for the Brooklyn Nets. But look at the bright side. We got to the bigger return. You could have Donte DiVincenzo and Julius Randle. Give us Karl Anthony-Towns and we good. We back. How close they are to being the same tier as the Boston Celtics and the Oklahoma City Thunder?
I would say they're there. Obviously, you're assuming that they're going to, either get Mitchell Robinson back from injury at some point soon, or they're going to trade him and have someone who can come off the bench right away for them. But either way, I think the Knicks are right there just because of the strength of their starting five, the versatility of the players that they have. Again, I think just one more bench piece could really, really put them in a great spot. Maybe that's, having Precious Achiuwa play center off the bench and trading Mitchell Robinson for someone like Corey Kispert, someone who can come off the bench but also play with some of these starters. Kispert would be able to space the floor for any of the starters. If they played with the bench unit, creating with the second unit. He would also be able to play with the starters, say if someone like Josh Hart gets hurt, and you could have Kispert out there spacing the floor with the starting unit. So however it works out, that's just one name to throw out there that, I'm sure the Knicks have a whole list of names they're looking into. But if they do move Mitchell Robinson before this season starts, will it be for someone that allows their bench unit to be seen as being a little bit deeper? If not, they're going to get him back at some point, right? So if they're expecting him back in the early parts of the season, just not right at the start of it, maybe a month or two in, it'll be then when he's back that they're right on the level of the Celtics or the Thunder. Two really good teams, of course, but neither team is perfect. And I would say the Thunder are the team where it's a little more similar to the Knicks in the sense where, they had Giddey go out and then two really great players in Caruso and Hartenstein come in. The Knicks had Randle, DiVincenzo, and Bojan Bogdanovic replaced by Mikal Bridges and Karl Towns. So both teams made really big upgrades based on what they already had, and what they already had was pretty good. So I think again, whether it's a trade with Robinson or it's Robinson himself coming back from injury, whenever one of those two things happens, the Knicks will be on that top tier contending level in the NBA.
Yeah, and you said it best. I mean, all the Knicks need is like a small beats coming off the bench and also better durability. And that's something that the Knicks have lacked in the semifinals against the Indiana Pacers last year. The durability, they fought through the durability that wasn't there, But up until game 6 and 7, that's when it really shows more.
Yeah, and also, the Knicks, they're a team that they pride themselves on being a versatile group, of course, and a resilient group, right? But of course, now with some changes, some new faces in the building, they've got to reestablish that identity too, right? It's not going to magically carry over. They have to put in the work every day to reestablish that identity for themselves and not take it for granted. I trust that they'll do that, but I think that might be almost a little underrated of a factor about this team, which is a good thing because it means that people are generally very confident in Tom Thibodeau and Jalen Brunson to set the culture with their two new members of the Knicks, and I think that's pretty. I think it bodes well for the team. But that is something that has to happen as well. Then again, Thibodeau, a great coach to get that done. So this is how the Knicks are built, man. They went for it, right? They're all in. And I think that the picks they gave up for Bridges signified that they were no longer interested in trying to find someone that's better than Brunson because they think Brunson's one of the best out there. And I don't think they even planned for that when they acquired Brunson. I think they figured they'd get Brunson and then they'd need to go out and get Giannis or Embiid or Booker or one of these guys that's just got that A plus plus superstar factor. They didn't need to because Brunson really established himself, and so I think that allowed the Knicks' plans to get streamlined a little bit, to end up with them having the team they have now.
Exactly. And they picked up Jalen Brunson for a reason. I said that I was one of the people that said that Jalen Brunson is going to carry the Knicks over and get it back to being the playoff relevancy that they've had from when they had Melo and Stat over a decade ago. And look what happened. You got us 2 playoff series already. And then you drew in Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony-Towns. That's a big deal for us Knicks fans.
It's a big deal because the team was built in a way where, yes, they got the big name stars that Leon Rose and the front office were hired to acquire. But they have them locked up, right? They have Brunson and Anunoby signed for years. Towns is signed for years. If they extend Bridges, Hart's already extended. That'll be all their whole core, including Deuce McBride, signed for years. Um, so that's how the Knicks built this team. They didn't just get together a great team. They did it in a way where they have a great team and they have a great team for years to come.
Yes, they do. They have a great team indeed. Now we have to actually transition to some New York Liberty basketball talk. And I know game 2 is tonight, but you're not going to get my thoughts on game 2 until the very next episode because game 2 is going to happen literally as this episode gets published. This just to give you guys a heads up. But the reality of the matter is they won game 1. The events tour for the Liberty literally start off right. Which leads us to one question. I mean, do you think the New York Liberty will be the next New York team to win a major professional championship? Or will it be the New York Yankees or the Mets or the New York Knicks?
Wow. That's a tough question. I mean, to start out, how great is it that we're in a situation where we don't know who the next New York team to win a championship is going
And
to
don't forget the New
be?
York Rangers. I forgot to leave them out. They were
Yeah.
last year.
And we don't know who that next New York team to win is going to be. And it's not because of the usual reason that they're all so terrible. They're actually all getting pretty good now. The Giants, not so much. Jets maybe getting there. We'll see.
They've also
Devontae
Denver
Adams.
Broncos, but that's a conversation for another episode. Oh
Exactly.
my God. With
Maybe
different guests, a different episode. That was disgusting. 10 to
maybe
9.
at home too. But then, you look at the Yankees, the Mets. I don't think the Mets will win the World Series this year. The Yankees certainly have a chance. I would say the Liberty have the best chance to be the next championship team in New York City. Obviously, they have to beat the Aces, but if they do, they've already gone up a game. And I would say that's the toughest test in the league, right? The Sun and the Lynx are very good, but the Aces are dominant. And I think this year the Aces have not been as dominant as they were in years past. They've definitely faltered in some moments in ways that make you think, oh, it's possible, not likely, but it's possible to beat this team in the playoffs. I think the Liberty just might show you that it is possible. And if they do, if the Aces don't make a comeback, I think you could see the Liberty go all the way. And game 1 was great watching them win at home. Of course, the environment was fantastic. seen Barclays or heard Barclays that loud in
Man,
a long
man,
time. I haven't.
nah, not that loud. And you're talking to a guy that went to game one against United in their win against United Dream, but then a year ago got me and Gigi covered game 3 and 4 of the finals between the Liberty and the Aces at the Barclays Center. There. In case you haven't seen our video recap of the loss at game 4, just check it out on my YouTube channel. But yeah, and shout out to Gigi Spear for doing an amazing job covering the WNBA for the Knicks. G's doing well, Christina's doing well, and everybody we know from Ford University in the sports media space is doing well covering the WNBA, especially the New York Liberty. But yeah, back to the conversation at hand. I mean, we think that this New York Liberty played at the Barclays Center does for the environment of the sports fans compared to when they were playing at the Garden and the 2 years at Westchester.
It's tough, man. I wish as someone who loves Madison Square Garden, as just a sports environment in general, that the team was not sold. But it was. And so what we have now is a situation where Brooklyn is the home of the team. And I do want to say that, you know, they deserve to feel at home there at Barclays. I think it works out really nicely where the Nets aren't so good. That's really the Liberty's building right now, because they deserve that shine and they deserve to have an arena that they feel meets the moment. I think it's tough in some other WNBA cities to play basketball in a smaller arena. Like, for example, the Dream play at College Park while the Hawks play at State Farm. For the Liberty, that they can say that they play at Barclays, which is a huge NBA arena and a concert venue and this and that. Like, I think it's amazing that the Liberty have a home that they can believe in and love, and that they can count on, right? They can count on the Barclays Center to be full of Liberty fans that are going to be there to support them, which I think is amazing, and they deserve it times a million.
Yes, they do indeed, and that's what you're talking about. They got Ellie the mascot rallying up the fans and the dancers. You got DJ Rhea hyping up the fans with their hosting gigs. You got Tay Michelle be the DJ. Shout out to these women that I just mentioned, and not to mention the viewership's gotten up. The fan engagement's crazy. You even got them playing on Fox 5 and Mine 9 the entire season. Only the New York Liberty can pull off something like that.
It's great to see the viewership go up, man, and the attendance across the W is going up. It feels like we're finally starting to see just the beginning. We're starting to see the beginning of how impactful the WNBA can be culturally. I think this past year, has shown there's good and bad to everything. Especially, when your league grows and it reaches demographics or target audiences that it wasn't reaching before. Sometimes you're not always going to like how those people choose to interact with the league, but that's reality, right? Is like there are people out there that you may not respect their views, or you may not respect how they choose to go about things, and you might be totally right to do so. Like, you might be correct, they might be wrong, and you might be right. But at the end of the day, if you want this league to do really well, it's just that brutal, awful reality of business where it's like, all right, you've got to be able to sell tickets to everyone. And so to see all sorts of demographics get in on the WNBA, it gives me hope that someday soon we will have a more um just more of an environment in the WNBA that longtime supporters of the league can be proud of. But I think, it's going to grow in waves. And every time there's a big wave, there's some things will come out of it that aren't so great. Like, I know, the statement that was put out recently by the Players Association, like, no one likes that this is all going on. But the hope is, just people keep standing up for what's right. And eventually the crowds will follow, and people will understand, things take time, but I'm really glad that the process seems to be starting in terms of mainstream basketball, including the WNBA. It should. It's stupid that it doesn't. And I think the stars in the league right now are meeting the moment. Like, you take a look at Sabrina Ionescu. She took a leap this season in terms of her on-ball juice as a creator for herself and for others, and also playing in terms of the team construct that the Liberty have. Sabrina is the Liberty's most improved player this season. And it has been amazing to see that carry into the playoffs, absolutely hooping so far in the playoffs for the Liberty. So I just gotta hope that these players keep meeting the moment, and sometimes it stinks that they have to, that pressure's there, but that's what we do this for, right? That's why they compete, is to try and compete in front of the biggest crowd they can and play the best game they can. And the journey there is hard and it's tenuous and it's tough, and a lot of times it's unfair in so many different ways, but that's how the cream rises to the top, is the players will persevere and fight through. So many players in the W have to deal with so much stuff that's so stupid. Talk about Asia Wilson, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark. A lot of WNBA players have to deal with stuff that's just stupid, whether it's angles from fans or angles from reporters, but that's part of the job description, and they get paid a lot of money to play basketball, and hopefully they get paid even more soon. Hopefully that's another step that gets taken soon too, is in the CBA, players getting paid more. Hopefully that next minimum salary comes in at like 190. That would be great.
Yeah, there's always a lot of pitiful stuff going on between the fans and the players. I mean, geez, it's just so hard to enjoy the sport when you got fans somehow disrespecting their players. It's just so hard. I mean, if you're not going to support the players playing, why bother paying for your ticket to go to WNBA or be the journalist cover it? Just think about that.
It's definitely tough, man. It's tough, but I think it's important that the outlets that are doing the right kind of coverage and are being um leading by example. I think it's great. Like, you look at the Next, right? Howard Megdal, and you talked about Gigi working for them. Like, what they do is so awesome. They put great coverage out there of WNBA basketball and of women's college basketball. That's all you can ask for, is for people to keep doing the right thing and for them to keep leading by example so other people will follow suit.
And where they're not one of those people doing that, you got people doing watch parties after collaborating with brands like Bumble and Together. I have actually had a chance to go to the watch party that was taking place at Fulton Hall, which is about 3 blocks away from the Barclays Center. And man, the fans were getting into it. Women's sports fans were coming together. Oh yeah, Dee Dee Richards was hosting too, along with Ari Tombers and Aliyah Funshell. Shout out to Aliyah Funshell for making the environment Funshell, if you know what I mean. But yeah, if you got
Hey
children,
now.
you understand. But yeah, to wrap it up, because I know I gotta let you go. You got stuff to do. You got stuff to do. You got other commitments. But yeah, in order to get my thoughts on Game 2 of the second round between the Aces of Liberty and the Minnesota Lynx and the Connecticut Sun, just tune into the very next episode, and also the rest of the MLB postseason. Future episodes, got you covered on that. As postseason action is literally going on, with the Tigers nagging Game 1 for the Houston Nationals in the wild card. The Mets are currently leading 3 runs to 2, excuse me. And then, of course, the Royals are obviously on the verge of getting a shutout win in Baltimore. So, yeah, that pretty much covers it up as we end this episode of the Sports Talk. Thank you for stopping by, Kris. Rafiq Lewis on. See you next time, and keep up the good work with everything.
Thanks for having me, man. Love the show. Appreciate you.
Yeah.